Hello everybody, it's your boy the Khaotic. Welcome to the 500 subscriber special decided by you guys. It's going to be a 2024 election night between myself versus Joe Biden, and I have chosen Nevada Senator, or I assume Nevada Senator Adam Laxalt as my running mate. So let's get on with the election night. It is now 7 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. And we can now project that Parker Green will be the projected winner in the state of Indiana. He will go on to win the state by around 20 points, doing very well with white working class voters in the state. And we can also project that Parker Green will be the projected winner in the state of Kentucky, a very southern state with a bunch of southern appeal for Green. Green will go on to win the state by 30 points. Parker Green will also be the projected winner out of South Carolina, his neighboring home state. He will win this state by around 15 points. And out of Vermont, we can project that Joe Biden will be the projected winner. He will go on to win this state by around 25 points. Out of Virginia, Joe Biden will be the projected winner, a very establishmentarian state. Joe Biden will end up winning this by around 10 points. Green tried to spend some time here, tried to do better in the state, but he couldn't do it. Didn't have enough appeal in the Virginia Beach area to make it competitive. And Joe Biden will end up winning the state by a safe margin. And out of Georgia, we can project that it is currently too close to call. Joe Biden has a 22-point lead as of right now. As you can see here, we are just counting in mail-in ballots right now, which is why we have a very big blue Georgia as of right now. And here's the current electoral map. Parker Green has 28 electoral votes, and Joe Biden has 16 electoral votes. Out of Indiana Senate race, Victoria Spartz will succeed retiring Senator Mike Braun. She will be projected winner. She will go on to defeat Brad Ellsworth by around 15 percentage points. Out of Virginia Senate race, Tim Kaine will go on to win another term to the Senate, defeating Nick Freitas by around 10 points, a similar margin to Joe Biden's victory. Out of Vermont Senate race, currently too close to call, Al Giordano is currently running to succeed Bernie Sanders, who is retiring. He is currently leading incumbent Governor Phil Scott by around 16 percentage points right now. Vermont being a lot more competitive than it typically is, especially with Phil Scott running. And here's the current Senate composition right now. Republicans have 41 seats to the Democrats' 28 seats. Democrats have a lot of seats to defend here tonight, but it is still anyone's game here tonight, as the Senate is currently tied 50-50. Out of Indiana's governor race, Curtis Hill will be the projected winner. The incumbent attorney general now will be elected governor of the state. He will go on to defeat Linda Lawson by 20 points. Out of Vermont's governor race, currently too close to call, Congresswoman Becca Balint is currently leading former U.S. Attorney Christina Nolan by 16 points. It is now 7:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Ohio, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will go on to win the state of Ohio by around 12 percentage points, a big victory for the Green column here tonight. Out of West Virginia, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 50 points, a big win for Parker Green here tonight, as very popular in the state of West Virginia. At North Carolina, too close to call. Joe Biden currently has a 10-point lead over Parker Green right now. Again, mail-in ballots are currently coming in first. Georgia still too close to call. Joe Biden's numbers has now gone down to a 12-point margin over Parker Green, as we are now counting in election day votes. Here's the current electoral map. Parker Green still leads 49 to Joe Biden's 16 electoral votes. Out of Ohio Senate race, currently too close to call, Sherrod Brown has a 16-point lead over Kevin Coughlin. Out of West Virginia Senate race, Mac Warner will go on to win his first term to the Senate, defeating Paula Jean Swearengin by 50 points. A big victory for Republicans here tonight, winning West Virginia. Out of Vermont Senate race, still too close to call, Al Giordano's lead has now dropped down to 6 points over Phil Scott. Here's the current Senate composition. Democrats have 28 seats to the Republicans' 42 seats. Out of West Virginia's governor race, former Olympian, Mary Lou Retton will be elected to her first term as governor of West Virginia, succeeding the best governor, Jim Justice. She will defeat Ron Stallings by 50 points. Big victory for Mary Retton here tonight. Out of North Carolina's governor race, too close to call, Josh Stein has a 22-point lead over his opponent, Mark Robinson. Again, this is supposed to be a very competitive race here tonight. Can Josh Stein pull off a victory, or will Mark Robinson pull off the victory? Out of Vermont's governor race, too close to call, Becca Balint has a 5-point lead over Christina Nolan. It is now 8 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Alabama, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 30 points, winning a county in the Black Belt. Out of Mississippi, Parker Green will be the projected winner, going on to win the state by 20 points, doing very well with black voters compared to past Republicans. Out of Missouri, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 20 points. Out of Oklahoma, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 50 points, a big victory for Parker Green. Out of Tennessee, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 50 points, or excuse me, not 50 points, that should be 30 points. A big victory for Parker Green in the state of Tennessee. Out of Connecticut, Joe Biden is the projected winner. Parker Green did spend some time in the state of Connecticut, but of course, again, similar to Virginia, not enough to win the state or make it competitive. Joe Biden wins the state by 12 points. Out of Delaware, Joe Biden's home state, he will be the projected winner here. He will win the state by around 14 points. Out of Washington, D.C., Joe Biden will be the projected winner here, no surprise. Out of Illinois, Joe Biden is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 13 points. Out of Maryland, Joe Biden is the projected winner, going on to win the state by around 28 points. Massachusetts, Joe Biden is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 30 points. Rhode Island, President Joe Biden will be the projected winner. He will go on to win this state by around 12 points. Florida, currently too close to call. Joe Biden has a 10-point lead in the state currently, excuse me. Maine, too close to call. Joe Biden has a big lead right now of around 32 points. Out of New Hampshire, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 22-point lead here. New Jersey, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 40-point lead here. As you can see, every county but one is currently blue, but that is, of course, mail-in ballots are coming in first. Out of Pennsylvania, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 22-point lead here. And now we can make a projection. Parker Green will go on to win his home state, North Carolina, by a likely margin, going on to beat Joe Biden by 6 percentage points. Big victory for Parker Green in his home state here. Winning it by a likely margin for the first time since George Bush's victory back in 2004, where he won it by 8 points. Out of Georgia, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 6-point lead here in the state. And here's the current electoral map. Parker Green has 108 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 73 electoral votes. Out of Maine Senate race, Jared Golden will go on to win his first term to the Senate, succeeding Angus King. He will go on to defeat Richard Bennett by around 15 percentage points. Winning his congressional district, the Maine's 2nd congressional district, Jared Golden's district, he will win his district, even though it doesn't look like it. Trust me, he does. And out of Maryland Senate race, Chelsea Manning will become the first transgender senator ever elected to the Senate, succeeding Ben Cardin. She will go on to defeat Larry Hogan by a very narrow margin compared to what Joe Biden had won. She will defeat Larry Hogan by 10 points. Chelsea Manning will be elected as the first transgender senator in the Senate. Out of Massachusetts Senate race, Tom Conroy will be elected to the Senate, succeeding Elizabeth Warren, a very moderate Democrat. He will go on to defeat Charlie Baker by around 12 percentage points. Charlie Baker, a very electoral juggernaut in the state, but he couldn't beat Tom Conroy for the Senate seat. Out of Mississippi Senate race, Thomas Duff will go on to succeed Roger Wicker to become senator. He will defeat Omarius Scott by around 25 percentage points. Out of Missouri Senate race, Josh Hawley will go on to win another term to the Senate. He will go on to defeat Trudy Valentine by around 20 points. Out of Tennessee Senate race, succeeding Marsha Blackburn, Knoxville Mayor Glenn Jacobs will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating Andy Burke. He will go on to win by around 25 points. Out of Connecticut Senate race, currently too close to call, Chris Murphy has a 40-point lead over former Congressman Chris Shays. Out of Delaware Senate race, Lisa Rochester has a 38-point lead over Ken Simpler. Florida Senate race, too close to call, Stephanie Murphy has a 22-point lead over Brian Mast. Out of New Jersey Senate race, too close to call, Rob Andrews has a 38-point lead over Tom Keene Jr. Out of Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call, Bob Casey Jr. has a 22-point lead over Ryan Costello. Out of Rhode Island Senate race, too close to call, Sheldon Whitehouse has a 40-point lead over Kenneth Hopkins. Out of Ohio Senate race, too close to call still, Sherrod Brown has a 6-point lead over Kevin Coughlin. And we can now make a big projection for Republicans in the state of Vermont. Phil Scott will be the projected winner, flipping this Senate seat red. Big victory for Phil Scott here in the state, as he will beat Al Giordano by around 3 percentage points, something that not many people expected considering how blue Vermont is. However, Phil Scott's popularity will carry him over the finish line. And here's the current Senate makeup right now. Democrats have 31 seats, the Republicans 46 seats. And now we can project out of New Hampshire's governor race. Chris Sununu will be the projected winner. He will go on to defeat Dan Feltz by around 20 percentage points. Big victory for Chris Sununu. Out of Delaware's governor race, too close to call, Matthew Dent has a 38-point lead over Kevin Hensley. Missouri's governor race, too close to call, Jason Kander has a 6-point lead over Dave Spence. Out of Vermont's governor race, big victory for Republicans again as they will keep this gubernatorial seat. Christina Nolan will be elected governor of the state. I think the first female governor of the state, defeating Becca Balint by around 3 percentage points. Out of North Carolina's governor race, still too close to call. Josh Stein's lead has dropped down to 16 points over Mark Robinson. It is now 8:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closing, and that being Arkansas, and no surprise here, Parker Green will be the projected winner in the state of Arkansas. He will go on to win the state by 35 points, winning several counties in the Black Belt of Arkansas. Out of Florida, we can now project that Parker Green will be the projected winner here. He will win this state by around 5 percentage points. Big victory here as he does well with Hispanics and with suburban voters. As you can see, he does win Pinellas County. Out of New Jersey, Joe Biden will be the projected winner. We can now project this as he will go on to win this state by 9 percentage points. Parker Green did spend some time here, tried to win over white working class voters, and it kind of seemed to pay off as New Jersey has become competitive this election cycle. Out of Maine, currently too close to call, Joe Biden has a 9-point lead in the state. New Hampshire, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 9-point lead in the state. Pennsylvania, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 9-point lead in the state. Georgia, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 3-point lead in the state. And here's the current electoral map right now. Parker Green still leads 144 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 87 electoral votes. Out of Connecticut's Senate race, we can now project that Chris Murphy is the projected winner. He will go on to win another term to the Senate. He will go on to defeat Chris Shays by around 9 percentage points. Chris Shays doing better than expected against Chris Murphy. Out of Delaware Senate race, Lisa Rochester will succeed Tom Carper, defeating Ken Slimpler by around 8 percentage points. Ken Slimpler, a very popular Republican in the state of Delaware, but he couldn't defeat Lisa Rochester. Out of Rhode Island Senate race, Sheldon Whitehouse, the corrupt, controversial senator, will go on to win another term to the Senate, beating Kenneth Hopkins by around 9 points. Sheldon Whitehouse's most competitive Senate race thus far. Out of Ohio Senate race, another gain for the Republicans. Kevin Coughlin will be elected to the Senate, defeating Sherrod Brown by around 3 percentage points. Sherrod Brown doing very well in the working class areas of the state. However, he will still end up losing to Kevin Coughlin. Out of Florida Senate race, too close to call, Stephanie Murphy has an 11-point lead over Brian Mast. New Jersey, too close to call, Rob Andrews has a 26-point lead over Tom Keene Jr. Pennsylvania, too close to call, Bob Casey Jr. has an 11-point lead over Ryan Costello. And here's the current Senate composition thus far. Democrats have 34 seats, to the Republicans 47 seats. Out of Delaware's governor race, Matthew Dinn will be elected to his first term as governor, defeating Kevin Hensley by around 9 percentage points. Scratch that 8 percentage points. Kevin Hensley, being a very Rockefeller Republican, being elected as a Republican in the most bluest county in the state. Out of Missouri's governor race, Dave Spence will be elected as governor, winning his first term, defeating Jason Kander by around 5 percentage points. Jason Kander, a very popular Democrat in the state, however, it's still not enough to beat Dave Spence. Out of North Carolina's governor race, too close to call, Josh Stein has an 8-point lead over Mark Robinson. It is now 9 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Colorado, Joe Biden will be the projected winner. He will win the state by 15 points. Green did not spend any time here in the state. He did spend some time, but that was only to keep Colorado's 8th district red, but even that, he didn't really spend that much money here. Out of New York, Joe Biden will be the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 12 points. Green did spend a lot of time up in upstate New York, but again, he didn't spend so much time on it. Once it got closer to the election, he kind of stopped going here. Out of Kansas, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will win this state by 20 points. Out of Louisiana, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 20 points. Nebraska, Parker Green will be the projected winner. He will go on to win this state by 29 points. Out of North Dakota, Parker Green is the projected winner, going on to win the state by 35 points, doing very well in the white working class areas of the state. Out of South Dakota, Parker Green is the projected winner, going on to win the state by 30 points. Out of Texas, a big victory for Parker Green, as he did spend quite a bit of time in the suburbs and Rio Grande Valley of the state. He will go on to win the state by 12 points over Joe Biden, having a hard swing to the right for suburbs and Hispanics in the state. Out of Wyoming, Parker Green is projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 50 points, a big victory for him. Out of Arizona, too close to call, Joe Biden has an 18-point lead in the state currently. Michigan, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 26-point lead in the state. Minnesota, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 38-point lead in the state. New Mexico, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 38-point lead in the state. Wisconsin, too close to call, Joe Biden has a 12-point lead in the state. And now we can make a projection out of Maine. Joe Biden is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 3 points. Parker Green will go on to win Maine's 2nd congressional district. New Hampshire is too close to call. Joe Biden has a 6-point lead in the state. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 6-point lead in the state. Georgia, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 1-point lead right now. And here's the current electoral map. Parker Green has 213 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 128. And now we can make a projection out of Minnesota's Senate race. Amy Klobuchar will go on to win big over Tim Pawlenty, winning 15 points over Tim Pawlenty. At a New York Senate race, Kirsten Gillibrand will be re-elected to the Senate, defeating Chris Gibson by around 12 points. At a Nebraska Senate race, Mike Flood will succeed retiring Senator Deb Fischer, and he will go on to defeat Scott Cleve by around 29 points. At a North Dakota Senate race, Kevin Kramer will go on to win another term to the Senate, defeating Joel Heitkamp by around 35 points. Arizona Senate race, too close to call. Kirsten Sinema has a 14-point lead over Doug Ducey. At a Michigan Senate race, Debbie Stabenow has a 24-point lead over Robert Ritchie, or known as Kid Rock. At a New Mexico Senate race, too close to call. Martin Heinrich has a 30-point lead over Richard Berry. At a Texas Senate race, too close to call. Julian Castro has a 6-point lead over Ted Cruz. At a Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin has an 18-point lead over Mike Gallagher. And now we can make a projection at a New Jersey Senate race. Blue Dog Democrat Rob Angers will go on to win his first term in the Senate, succeeding Bob Menendez. He will go on to defeat Tom Keene Jr. by around 8 percentage points. Very close race. We have a Rockefeller Republican versus Blue Dog Democrat. Very interesting election if you think about it. At a Florida Senate race, too close to call. Stephanie Murphy has a 6-point lead over Brian Mast. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Bob Casey has a 6-point lead over Ryan Costello. And here's the current Senate composition. Democrats have 37 seats, the Republicans 49 seats. Republicans only need 2 more seats to have a majority. Out of North Dakota's governor race, Drew Wrigley will go on to win his first term in the Senate, succeeding Doug Burgum, who he primaried. And as you can see, Drew Wrigley has a 35-point lead over Ben Vig. North Carolina's governor race, too close to call. Josh Stein has a 4-point lead over Mark Robinson. It is now 10 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Iowa, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 15 points, a big victory for Parker Green. Out of Montana, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win this state by 18 points. Out of Utah, Parker Green will have a big victory here, winning big with Mormons winning it by 30 points. Out of Nevada, currently too close to call. This is Parker Green's running mate's home state, Adam Laxalt. Joe Biden currently has a 14-point lead in the state. Out of Minnesota, we can now project that Joe Biden is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 7 points. Out of Arizona, too close to call. Joe Biden has an 8-point lead here. Michigan, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 13-point lead here. New Mexico, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 19-point lead. Wisconsin, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 6-point lead. New Hampshire, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 3-point lead. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 3-point lead. Georgia, too close to call. Joe Biden has a very narrow lead of 1%. And here's the current electoral map. Parker Green has 229 electoral votes, so Joe Biden's 138. Still anyone's race here tonight. Out of Utah Senate race, Burgess Owens will succeed the retiring Senator Mitt Romney as he will be elected to his first term in the Senate. He will go on to defeat Ben McAdams by around 20 points. Out of Montana Senate race, too close to call. John Tester has a 7-point lead over popular governor of the state, Greg Gianforte. Out of Nevada Senate race, too close to call. Jackie Rosen has a 17-point lead over Brian Sandoval. Out of Texas, out of Texas Senate race, we can now project that Ted Cruz is the projected winner. He will go on to defeat Julian Castro by around 8 percentage points. Out of Arizona Senate race, too close to call. Kirsten Sinema has an 8-point lead over Doug Ducey. Michigan, too close to call. Debbie Stabenow has a 12-point lead over Robert Ritchie. New Mexico, too close to call. Martin Heinrich has a 13-point lead over Richard Berry. Wisconsin, too close to call. Tammy Baldwin has a 7-point lead over Mike Gallagher. Out of Florida Senate race, too close to call. Stephanie Murphy has a 3-point lead over Brian Mast. Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call. Bob Casey Jr. has a 2-point lead over Ryan Costello. And here's the current Senate composition. And Republicans have taken the majority. Mitch McConnell will have another term as Senate Majority Leader, unless Parker Green has something else to say about it, which he does. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have 37 seats currently to the Republicans' 51 seats. Let's see if Democrats can narrow up the gap. Out of Montana's governor race, Tim Fox will be elected to his first term as governor, succeeding Greg Gianforte, who is currently running for Senate. He will go on to defeat Casey Schreiner by around 18 points. Out of Utah's governor race, Thomas Wright, who primaried Spencer Cox, will be elected to his first term as governor. He will go on to defeat Neil Hansen by 30 points. North Carolina's governor race, too close to call. Josh Stein has a 2-point lead over Mark Robinson. It is now 11 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of California, Joe Biden will be the projected winner. However, Parker Green doing very well with Southern Cali Asian voters. It will make the state a lot narrower, winning the state by, or losing the state by 19 points to Joe Biden. Out of Hawaii, Joe Biden is the projected winner, winning the state by around 20 points. Idaho, Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win here by 40 points. Out of Oregon, too close to call. Joe Biden currently has a 36-point lead here in the state. Washington, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 40-point lead here in the state. And we can now make a projection for Parker Green, a gain for him for Republicans here tonight. Nevada will flip blue to red as Parker Green will be the projected winner here. And thanks to Adam Laxalt, Parker Green will win the state by around 4 percentage points, close to likely a big victory for Republicans here in the state of Nevada. Arizona, we can now project that Parker Green is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by 2 points, even winning Maricopa County. Out of New Mexico, Joe Biden is the projected winner. He will go on to win the state by around 4 percentage points. Out of Wisconsin, Parker Green will flip this state red, as he will go on to defeat Joe Biden by around 3 percentage points. Michigan, too close to call. Joe Biden currently has a lead of about 7 points. New Hampshire, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 1-point lead here. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 1-point lead. Georgia, too close to call. Joe Biden has a 1-point lead. And here's the current electoral map. Parker Green only needs 10 electoral votes in order to win the election. He currently has 260 to Joe Biden's 201. Out of California Senate race, Gavin Newsom will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating Arnold Schwarzenegger, as he will go on to beat him by 13 points. A very narrow election when it comes to California, but Schwarzenegger is a very popular Republican here in the state, and Gavin Newsom is not a very popular Democrat, but since it's California, Gavin Newsom will end up winning here regardless. Out of Hawaii Senate race, Tulsi Gabbard will be elected to her first term in the Senate, defeating Duke Aiona by around 13 points. Out of Washington Senate race, too close to call. Mariah Cantwell has a 14-point lead over Bill Bryant. Out of Montana Senate race, another gain for Republicans. Greg Gianforte will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating John Tester by around 8 points. A big victory for Republicans, defeating John Tester in the state of Montana with a very popular incumbent governor. Out of Nevada Senate race, Brian Sandoval will go on to defeat Jackie Rosen, a former popular governor. Brian Sandoval will beat Jackie Rosen by around the same margin Parker Green ended up winning the state. Big victory for Brian Sandoval in the state of Nevada. And out of Arizona Senate race, Doug Ducey will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating Kirsten Sinema by around 2 points. Another big gain for Republicans. Out of Michigan Senate race, a big loss for Republicans. Debbie Stabenow will be elected to another term in the Senate, defeating Robert Ritchie by around 2 points. Kid Rock couldn't get the job done. Debbie Stabenow ended up beating him in the state of Michigan. Out of New Mexico Senate race, another big loss for Republicans. Martin Heinrich will go on to defeat former Albuquerque Mayor Richard Berry by around 2 percentage points. A state where Republicans were really hoping to flip, but they couldn't do it. Out of Wisconsin Senate race, finally, some wins for Republicans. Mike Gallagher ended up winning this race, defeating Tammy Baldwin by around 3 points. A big victory for Republicans, defeating a far-left progressive Tammy Baldwin with a moderate populist in Mike Gallagher. Out of Florida Senate race, too close to call. Stephanie Murphy currently has a 1-point lead over Brian Mast. Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call. Bob Casey Jr. has a 1-point lead over Ryan Costello. And here's the current Senate composition. Democrats have 41 seats, the Republicans 55 seats. Out of Washington Senate race, or governor race, excuse me, is currently too close to call. Bob Ferguson has a 14-point lead over Dino Rossi. In North Carolina's governor race, too close to call. Josh Stein has a 1-point lead over Mark Robinson. It is now 1 a.m. and we have poll closings out of Alaska, and Parker Green will be the projected winner in the state of Alaska, doing very well with the libertarian voters in the state. He will end up winning this, that should say 16. That's a 16-point victory, not a 3-point victory. I apologize. It is now 1:15 a.m. We can now make a projection out of the state of Oregon. Joe Biden will be the projected winner here. A lot narrower than what people expected, but Joe Biden will end up winning this state by around 6 percentage points. Parker Green's environmental policy won over a lot of left-leaning independent voters who didn't like Joe Biden. and that's how Oregon became a lot closer, as well as Washington. It's now 1:30 a.m. and we can project that Washington will be the projected to go to Joe Biden, as he will end up winning the state by around 9 percentage points, doing very poorly in the Washington suburbs. It is now 1:45 a.m. We can now project that Parker Green will end up winning the state of Michigan very narrowly, as he will end up winning the state by around 0.2% of the 0.2%. A very close election here in the state of Michigan, but Parker Green will end up narrowly carrying the state. And with that, Parker Green will be the projected winner, as he now has 278 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 221. Parker Green can lose Georgia, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and he'd still be the projected winner. It's now 2 a.m. We can now project that winning over Libertarian and suburban voters, Parker Green will be the projected winner in the state of New Hampshire, going on to win the state by around 0.4%, a very narrow victory again. It's now 2:15 a.m. We can now make a projection out of Pennsylvania, and Parker Green is the projected winner, going on to win the state by around 0.8%, winning over Erie County, winning over white working class voters and suburban Philadelphia voters to cross him over the finish line over Joe Biden. It's now 2:30 a.m. We can now make a projection. With his southern appeal, Parker Green will end up winning the state of Georgia very narrowly at 0.1%. Even though he's from the South, the Atlanta metro area is just way too fucking big. If it wasn't for, if it wasn't for suburbs outside of Atlanta, not Atlanta, outside of the Atlanta metro, then Parker Green would have lost this race. It's now 2:45 a.m. We can now make a projection out of Washington Senate race, and Mariah Cantwell will go on to win her another term to the Senate, defeating Bill Bryant by around 3 percentage points. Bill Bryant doing very well in the Seattle suburbs in this state. It's now 3 a.m. We can now make a projection out of Florida's Senate race. Brian Mast will go on to win his first term to the Senate, succeeding Senator Rick Scott, who is retiring. He will go on to defeat Stephanie Murphy by around 0.6%, underperforming Parker Green's number, but Stephanie Murphy and Brian Mast are both good candidates, so this was going to be close regardless. It's now 3:15 a.m. We have a big loss for Republicans, as Bob Casey Jr. will be re-elected to the Senate out of Pennsylvania, an electoral juggernaut in the state. Republicans set up their own electoral juggernaut in Ryan Costello, but Casey was still able to beat Costello very narrowly, a 0.7% victory for Bob Casey Jr. Now 3:30 a.m. and out of Washington's governor race, Bob Ferguson will be elected to his first term as governor, succeeding a retiring Governor Jay Inslee. So he will beat Dina Rossi by around 3 percentage points, very similar to the Mariah Cantwell Bill Bryant race. It's now 3:45 a.m. We can now make the final call of the night. North Carolina's governor race, a flip for Republicans. Mark Robinson will be elected to his first term as governor, succeeding term-limited Governor Roy Cooper. He will defeat Attorney General Josh Stein by around 0.3%. Very, very close election between these two, but Mark Robinson will be elected as, I believe, the first black governor of the state. So, there you go. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this 500 subscriber special. It was a lot to work on. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Khaotic one saying, peace.